Hello there, welcome to a new session. In this session, we are going to talk about abstraction. Abstraction is the key concept of object oriented programming, and if you don't know abstraction, then it is considered that you don't know the object oriented programming language. That's what the importance of abstraction in object oriented programming concepts. And you have learned all the three object oriented programming concepts for learning the abstraction. Whatever encapsulation, inheritance, or polymorphism that you have learned all those three concepts for learning the abstraction, and all those things would be used in abstraction. So let's see what is abstraction today. And it is very easy. It is really very easy. Just try to stick whatever terminology that I will be using. It would definitely be easy for you to understand what is abstraction. So let's start with abstraction today. So what is abstraction? So before telling you the definition of abstraction, let me tell you a problem, that please don't go on internet and don't try to search any definition for abstraction, because though that definition would completely be different than actual context. And the actual meaning of abstraction is different, and actual use case of abstraction is completely different than the definition which is present over internet. Everywhere over the internet, a very difficult definition of abstraction is written, that if any beginner will see, or if any beginner will try to read or try to understand by himself, it is impossible for him to understand. So that's why please stick with my terminology. uh, Trust me, I will not tell you anything wrong. Just try to trust me and try to stick with the terminology that I will be telling you. So the simple definition of abstraction is an object oriented programming concept which can be used for imposing the guideline. So let me write it here. It is an object oriented programming concept which is used for imposing the guideline. Now, don't worry about what does it mean as imposing the guideline. What is it? Don't worry about it. Just watch this session properly, and you will definitely understand what does it mean for imposing the guidelines. So this is what the basic definition. Now, how to implement abstraction in Solidity or in any programming language? So for implementing the abstraction in Solidity, and even the process for implementing abstraction is same as Java and in C++ also. So for implementing the abstraction, you will have to use abstract class or interface. Firstly, we'll be talking about with the help of abstract class, and then later on we will be understanding that how to implement the abstraction using interfaces. So in this session, we are going to implement the abstraction using abstract classes. So before understanding and for implementing abstraction in Solidity, we must have to know the abstract classes. Now, what is abstract class? Sorry, abstract contract. I'm very sorry about it. Abstract contract. Let me write it here. Us is equal to contract. This is not class is the class is not same as contract. I am just saying, if I will say class in this session, or further in this session, if I will say class, then uh, please try to understand it as contract, please. Now, what is abstract contract? Abstract contract is a contract which cannot be deployed. It cannot be deployed in any environment. Now you will say, why it cannot be deployed, and if it cannot be deployed, then why it is used? So if the abstract contract cannot be deployed because they are considered as imposed guideline, or actually abstract contracts are also created for imposing the guideline. Now I will tell you why it is so, but just try to understand this. At the end of the session, you will understand that why abstract contracts are created for imposing the guidelines. So for creating the abstract contract, you will have to use abstract keyword in front of contract. Then only you can create the abstract contracts. And abstract contracts contains several abstract functions as well as non-abstract function. You can create abstract functions as well as non-abstract functions in abstract contract. And for creating the abstract contracts, you will have to use virtual function, and you will have to declare that function. So that function would become abstract function. So let me tell you the properties first. Abstract contract cannot be instantiated by its own object. Like for example, you have created an abstract contract, let's say ABC. ABC is an abstract contract. So if you want to create an object, let's say ABCC, this is an object of ABC contract. And if you will try to instantiate this abstract contract, then it is not possible. Oh, sorry, what is it? Okay, so it is not possible because abstract contracts cannot be instantiated by its own objects. This is what the meaning of instantiation means: creating an object and assigning that object to another object. So that's that's what it means. Abstract contracts cannot be instantiated by its own objects, but it can be instantiated by its derived classes objects. This is a very important thing. Remember this. And in case of interfaces also, this thing works. So abstract contracts objects cannot be instantiated by itself, but it can be instantiated by its derived classes objects. So remember this thing. Now second point, may contain abstract functions. So I have already told you, can have non-abstract functions. So it can have non-abstract functions, like normal functions are considered as non-abstract functions. If you talk about the fourth property, then inherited by derived contracts. So if you are creating the abstract contracts, then it can be inherited by derived contracts, or other contracts can inherit the abstract contracts. It is not restricted to inherit any abstract contract. So it is allowed. Now, fifth property provides a contract interface. So this property I will implement the example, and after implementing that example, you will definitely understand what does it mean. Provides a contract interface. So let's create an example for understanding the abstract contract first. So let's go to Remix IDE. Here we are, and let me create a new file. Let's say abstraction example dot sol. Okay. So here we are with our file stdx license identify GPL 3.0 and pragma solidity greater than 0.5.0 and less than equal to 0.8.0 contract. So here I will be creating an abstract contract. Now I will tell you that why abstract contracts are considered as a contract, or they are used for imposing the guideline. Let me tell you. Abstract contract animal. So as like this, you can create an abstract contract like this. Just use the abstract keyword, and you will have to with that contract that you have created, it would become abstract contract. I want to impose a guideline. I want to create a guideline that if any of the contract is inheriting my contract, like this is my contract, this animal is my contract. So if any of the class is inheriting animal class, then that class must have to, or sorry, contract, that contract must have to implement a function. If that contract is not implementing the function that I specifies here, then that contract would not be considered as animal, and it would give the error. So let's see what how it is possible, and how to do that. So let me create the abstract contract first. So function make sound. Make sound function is the function, and I want that it should be of public type, and it should return is memory string type of data. String memory. Okay. And okay, so remember this: if you are not giving a function as virtual, so you cannot declare that function. If you are giving the, or if you are declaring a function virtual keyword, then it is possible. Otherwise it is not possible to declare a function in Solidity inside a contract. So virtual virtual keyword, with a virtual keyword you can declare a function into a contract. Now, and one more thing I want to tell you, that in the abstract contracts in Solidity, you can create the variables, you can create the functions also. Normal functions are also possible, and you can define the functions as well. But in interface, there are some restrictions. But in abstract contracts, it is possible to create the state variables as well as the normal functions. I'm not creating it now, but I'm just telling you the theory. Okay, let me create a contract dog. I have created a dog contract. This dog contract would inherit this animal contract because dog is also a animal. Now, is anyone. Now, for making this dog is animal, I need to implement the function which is written inside the animal class and which is abstract. So if you are creating a function like this, then this type of functions are considered as abstract functions. So what happens is, if any class, or sorry, if any contract is inheriting any other abstract contract, then that contract which is inheriting that contract, or the child contract, would must have to implement all the abstract functions which are written in the parent contract. So animal is the parent contract and dog is the base or child contract. So this child contract must have to, this child contract must have to implement this make sound function, otherwise this program will not run, and this dog would not be considered as animal. Try to understand this using the real world example. Like for example, there is a car. A car is an organization, and there are several car companies like Tesla, Tata, and several companies are. So, a car organization has created a guideline that until and unless a car company is not having the license, it cannot create the car, or it cannot manufacture the car in his company or in its company. So that is what the basic uh, guideline that car organization has created. So if you want to create a company or which manufacture the cars, then you will have to take license from car organization. So that is the basic example, basic guideline example. So car organization has created the guideline, and all the companies which are going to create their companies, or which are going to manufacture the cars, they must have to take license from our car organization. That is what the basic example of car organization. And until and unless any company is not taking the license from the car organization, that company would not, would not be able to manufacture the car. So that's what happens here. Animal is the organization, just assume that, and it has said that until and unless, or if any, if someone wants to be an animal, then he must have to implement this make sound function into his class. So I hope this thing is clear. Now let's see. Let me. Currently, it is saying that contract doc should be marked as abstract. So if you are not implementing, like for example, you do not want to implement this function, there are two things: either implement this function, or either define this function into your contract, and then the program will run, or there is another solution, or make this contract as abstract. If you will make this contract as abstract, then then the problem would solve. So two things are there. If you are inheriting any abstract contract, then you must have to define the abstract function declared in that abstract contract. And if you do not want to define the abstract function into your contract, then you will have to create your contract as abstract. So please note this theory down. It is very, very important. Now, I don't want to make this contract as abstract. I want to implement it. So function make sound public. It should not be virtual, because as in the previous session of polymorphism, I have already told you that if you are creating the same type of function into the contract, or if you are inheriting the parent contract and you are the child contract, and if you are creating the same name function or the replica of any function, then you will have to write override keyword. So instead of virtual, you will have to write override, which is returning string memory type of data memory. Okay. Now, see this, the error has been gone, as you can see. So like this, I hope it is clear to you what does it mean as imposing the guideline. Let me complete this first. So string str is equal to how how, because doc sounds like how, and it should be of memory type because it is a local variable. Okay. Now let's return str, and it should be a pure type of function because it is not returning, sorry, it is not changing any state variable, so that's why it should be pure, or it should be declared with pure keyword. Now this is how you can do that, and let me deploy this program first, and let's deploy this. Okay, sorry, yeah, see this, and another thing that I have told you, the theory that I had told you, that animal sorry the abstract contracts cannot be deployed. So see this, if I try to deploy the animal contract, then it is not possible. See, the contract may be abstract, it may not implement an abstract parents method completely, or it may not invoke an inherited contracts constructor correctly. So basically, it says that the abstract contracts cannot be created or it is deployed. So let me change the contract and let's deploy the doc contract. The doc contract has been deployed, and this is the instance of it. Let's call the make sound function. So it is returning wow wow. So like this, you can understand this. And we have created the guideline that whoever or whichever contract is inheriting my contract, then it must have to implement my function. So I hope it is clear. It is just a plain English. It is not that much, or it is not a rocket science. Please try to understand this in a simpler way. So I hope it is clear. If you are having any doubt, any problem related to this topic, then you can mail me, or sorry, you can comment me. And if I will be creating another function like this, if I'm creating a plain function, not an abstract function, I'm creating a plain function. Let's say a run, and it is of public type, which returns string memory. Then this function is not need to be written into this dot function, because this is not an abstract function. Please, as I told you, please go with my terminologies. It is very important. If your terminologies are clear, then everything would be clear. So only abstract functions are need to be defined into the child contract if you are inheriting any parent contract. Now, why it is used, or where it could be used. So let's assume that I am the senior programmer and you are the junior programmer. So in companies, what happens is the senior programmer creates the guideline for the junior programmer, and according to those guidelines, junior programmer works. Because senior programmer knows that if you are giving the complete work to the junior programmer, then he would definitely do several mistakes. So that's why senior programmers creates the guideline, and according to those guidelines, junior programmer need to work. And if you are doing something like this, and if you are creating the specific function according to the requirement, then definitely junior programmer will create those function into his class. So that's what the meaning of that fifth point that I have leave, that you are creating an interface for the other contracts, or abstract classes are, see this, provides a contract interface. So if you are going to create a contract, then you got an interface that how you will have to create an interface, or sorry, contract. So junior programmer will get an interface that how I will have to create it, or how I will or which functions I need to create.